Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Coaching the Bible. This is episode 237, season 5, episode 24. We're on the cusp of the holiday of Passover. Those of you celebrating Passover, Pesach in Hebrew, coming up this Saturday evening, going into next week. Wish you the happiest and happiest of holidays. Enjoy it, celebrate it. I hope it's great. I hope it's awesome. I hope it's really meaningful, very inspirational. It really brings you what it is that you're looking to get from the holiday itself. Those of you celebrating other holidays over the next couple of weeks, happy holidays to you as well. Here we go. Today's episode in the series we're calling The Leader Within in the book of Leviticus is actually a special for Passover. And our focus is the 4 questions every leader must ask. The holiday itself, we know, is deeply rooted in questions. The Seder event, the event that everybody knows, starts off the holiday, kicks off the holiday itself. The Seder is replete with a massive amount of questions. And it's purposeful, it's intentional. The Bible talks about it openly and extensively, the idea of questions, the importance of questions. And therefore, the Seder itself isn't just a meal, it's a ritual that is built around asking questions, asking better questions, and the food portion is a portion of that ritual. The question section, even though the most famous questions, the 4 questions, are asked by a child, the reality of it is that the questions and questioning and asking questions isn't just for children, it's for leaders too. So as we enter into this moment, into this season of reflection, of renewal, of telling the story, our episode today really focuses on the 4 most important questions every leader that's trying to lead from within, every leader that's trying to grow from within must be asking, not once, but must be asking these questions over and over, because powerful and great leadership isn't built only on answers. It's built on the courage to keep asking questions and to keep asking the right questions, especially and perhaps most importantly, when the answers to those questions are not convenient. Famous quote from Socrates: "The unexamined life is not worth living." We've used that quote before. It's worth it here again, to continue to probe, to continue to delve, to continue to seek greater depth in our experience, in our success, in whatever it is that we're doing, requires us to continue to reimagine, re-examine the questions we ask ourselves, and to make sure that we're asking the right questions and ultimately then get the right answer. We talked about asking questions way back in season 2 of Coaching the Bible, and therein we talked about the value and import of asking good questions. Today, we're just going to ask 4 questions, because 4 is the number, right? 4 is the number that comes with a lot in the holiday. Here we go. Question number 1. Again, we're asking deep, penetrative, important, meaningful, reflective questions. Question number 1 is, what is it like to be led by me? You're a leader. So at the Seder, maybe you're leading the Seder, or maybe you're a participant in the Seder, but you're a leader in industry, you're a leader in your company, you're a leader in your business, you're a leader in your community. And so it's a question that one asks themselves when they really want to know the truth. And the way to get at that truth is by seeking the input and opinions of others. And it's not simply just your intention in how you lead. You may intend to be the greatest leader of all time. It's the actual impact of how you lead. What is it like to be actually led by what's underlying that question? 1, are you inspiring or are you intimidating? 2, are you clear or are you confusing? 3, are you empowering or are you micromanaging? The great leader knows that self-awareness isn't enough. You need the term, I believe it's from Daniel Goleman, of other awareness. You need to know what is actually true. Other people see. Like, we have an image of ourselves. I think about this a lot, actually. Use a running analogy. I think about how I look when I run, right? I think I'm running and I look like Usain Bolt when I'm running down the streets in my neighborhood. The reality is when I catch my reflection in a mirror or in a window pane or reflective off of a bus stop, I actually see the honest truth. Or, which I've become more aware of, my shadow. My shadow very much reflects how I look when I'm running, how I actually look physically, just in terms of the shape of me. And that's maybe my self-awareness a little bit, but it's more the other awareness. How other people see that, like, me heaving and heavy breathing and the sort of the grind in my face as I'm going, whereas the gait of my step as I'm running seems to slip. So there's self-awareness, which is important and crucial and vital, but there's also other awareness. And other awareness cannot come from you. It has to come from other people. And so we mentioned Daniel Goleman. We've talked about Daniel Goleman before in terms of his emotional intelligence framework. You have to not know yourself, but you have to understand and also appreciate how others feel about you too. And so leaders who are high in what I'll call, in this term, other awareness, are more likely to earn trust. They're more likely to improve their engagement rate and their engagement level with their team, and ultimately, as a result, to reduce churn in that team. But without this lens, other awareness, of asking this kind of a question, your blind spots continue to grow, and then your good intentions or your desires to be a great leader fall short. So how do you fix this? How do you work on this? Number one is you have to ask for feedback regularly. Ask people, how am I doing? How am I leading? Maybe you have a colleague on your team who is of equal level, and you can have open and honest conversation with them and get real feedback from them. That's really valuable. And then sharing with you what you're not seeing. You could try anonymous surveys. I don't know that those work so well, where the people one-on-one, not in one-on-one, in team sessions or team settings or posts, are giving an honest feedback assessment of you, or just ask for open opinions. I mean, that's the hardest, that's the most raw version of this, is simply just asking everybody, hey, this is how I lead. This is what I'm thinking. This is how I go about this. What do you think? You have to be accepting and willing to accept what you hear back. It's really not easy to do, but there are ways to become more other aware. And that answers question number one: what is it like to be led by me? Which leads us to question number two. Question number two is a different focus. Am I focusing on what only I can do? It's an important question relating to efficiency, effectiveness, value add. If you're not doing the work only you can do, who is doing the work that only you can do? And what work are you actually doing? This question of, am I focusing on what only I can do, helps you separate what you would call urgent from the essential, and the busy from the meaningful. And the question you want to ask yourself is, which one should I be working on? You weren't called to answer every meal. Man, wow, that was a bad slip up right there. Okay, you weren't called to answer every email, I meant to say. You weren't called to shape, you were called to shape the culture, the visions, the values, and my brain is like in 100 different places at the moment. Sorry about that. Okay. And you have to appreciate then, you as the leader in these spaces, is if you're doing work that is 2, 3, 4 steps below where your pay rate, let's say, for lack of a better term, is, then effectively you're wasting your time. You're not getting the work done that needs to get done, and therefore you're not having the impact you need to have. And so you have to shift out of some of those roles into the role that you have, which is the leader role, and away from some of those other roles. And it brings into great clarity this idea that I saw by a gentleman by the name of Dan Sullivan, which is called unique ability. Unique ability is to appreciating exactly what it means. What is it that I uniquely bring to the table here, which is most valuable, most meaningful, and therefore most impactful, and having the most direct line on the results that we're trying to achieve? Probably not that email that you're sending. It might be something more valuable than that. And so we have to focus our energies, and we have to focus our abilities where we are the least replaceable in terms of value in the team. That's the case at home as well, probably more importantly at home as well. Unique ability as a parent, as a father, as a mother, as an older sibling, as a grandparent, whatever the case may be. What's your unique ability that you're bringing to the table in those moments? And if you're not, Why not? So look at your calendar, look at your schedule, look at your to-do list, if you have a to-do list, and look at that and mark off the things that only you can do. It's hard to do. If you don't have a team around you where you can delegate, it's very hard. You end up doing everything. But then you can rebuild your schedule, rebuild your calendar a different way. Not for now. Protect time for the deep work that's around the strategy and the values and the relationships that are important, that are the most significant around you. Give those things the time that they need and reduce the time or the friction or the pain that the things that are, you're just doing them kind of things, so that you can focus on your irreplaceable value. That's question 2. Question 3, a different kind of question. Where might I be wrong? We don't like to ask this question. We certainly don't like to ask this question out loud. But if you have the ability and you're able to be comfortable in the discomfort of asking a question like this, comfortable in the discomfort, right? This helps you shield against the growth or the virus of your ego. I think on some level, it even makes you a little bit dangerous because you increase your power level. What do I mean? Is you increase your power level by virtue of the fact that you are open to being wrong, open to seeing what's going on around you, that's seeing it differently than you are seeing it. This is not the same as question 1. I know it sounds a little bit like question 1, but it's really not. That's simply just about how you're being led. Here, it's where I might be wrong. This could be more strategic in nature. This could be tactical in nature. This could be implementation in nature. But asking the question of your team, where might I be wrong, is such a power. Getting the input from the team, being open to that input from the team, whether that's raw or it's cold or it's organized, whatever it is, doesn't matter. You have to work at the confirmation biases that you live with, meaning that we most often seek data and seek information that confirms, that reinforces the beliefs that we already hold. And we attune to and attach to and run towards those things. It's simply in our nature. And so the great leader will ask the question of where might I be wrong, counteracts this issue by actively seeking dissent, by being open to the contradiction and staying humble in the fact that somebody might come along who says, no, you're not an expert. No, you're wrong here. No, this is a different way to think about it. Perhaps this is a better way to think about it. And the ability to tolerate that discomfort, to invite that discomfort, even some level of embarrassment, if that's the case, because you are working in service of the truth or the greatest success possible, that is a high performance level of leadership. And it's a high performance level of skill that you are then sharing and showing to everybody around you. So that's question number 3. Where might I be wrong? That's a hard question to ask. And it's important that you ask it. There have been leaders that I've been around who say that they want to know when they're wrong. They don't mean it. The team feels on them that they don't mean it. They say it because it's the right thing to say. Or they say it, let's give them more credit. Because in theory, they want to be told where they're wrong. But in practice, no. And so the team closes up, closes down, shuts down, stops saying it, doesn't talk about it, leaves the meeting without sharing, gets frustrated. You get the picture. So the leader now has to invite the disagreement. The leader has to be proactive in asking the question of where might I be wrong? What am I missing? What's the flaw in my thinking? Again, it's not personal. It's not an attack on the person. It's a review of the strategy that the person is professing or the opinion that the person is professing. And it's hopefully them being open enough to the truth or what's right. And treat being wrong as a leadership strength, as leadership skill, and not as a liability. I think the corollary to that is when you say you don't know. I talked about saying you don't know early on in coaching the Bible. I think that's a very power skill as well. When you simply don't know the answer. Certain leaders that I've been around have been asked big, huge questions. And in the moment, they didn't shoot from the hip or simply just explore the question with a line of reasoning on the spot, which might have been interesting. I've seen them say, I don't know. Let me get back to you. I have to think about that one. And then they'll go and do the work, and they'll go do the thinking, and they'll think about it, and they'll work on it, and they'll come back with a power answer. But that's question number 3. Where might I be wrong? Question number 4, what am I pretending not to know? Again, different question. These are tough leadership questions. These are questions that you're asking yourself, by yourself, in many cases, for yourself, in many cases. And sitting alone in the office by yourself, early in the morning, late in the evening, at home, on the couch, whatever you're doing, what am I pretending not to know? What this question means is you know the answer. You know what has to be done. You're just burying it. You don't want to deal with it. And so when you surface that you're pretending here and you bring that up, you are uncovering a lot and you're raising a lot of discomfort around yourself, but it's exceptionally valuable and important. This is maybe the hardest question to ask because it really does threaten your comfort level, perhaps at your deepest core. You know the answer. You know what you have to do. You know what has to be done, but you don't do it. The team member who's not working out, that partnership that also not working out, it's draining resources, the business strategy that really stopped working 6, 8, 9 months ago, and you are not doing anything to stop it. The process that's holding you back from your greatest level of success, the conversation that you know has to be had and you know has to be said. Forget about the business environment. Maybe it's in a personal environment or communal environment. And you pretend not to know the answer. And it's not that you're unsure. You're simply just avoiding it. And to get why, we all get why. That dissonance, that discomfort, the avoidance of conflict is something we don't want to step into. And when our beliefs and our actions really conflict, there's that discomfort. It's just sitting there. And so we rationalize away all the reasons why we should do what we have to do. And we allow to take the lead and we allow to step into the space of what we're going to do, the thing that we shouldn't do. We tell ourselves things that are soothing stories to avoid these hard decisions. But the real leader, you, the true leader, they don't avoid the reality. They face the reality. And so this question, as hard as it is vital for your ultimate success. What am I pretending not to know? Surfacing these hard conversations, facing them, looking at these truths right in the mirror and dealing with them. And so ask yourself, what truth would I see if I weren't afraid? It's related to another question I asked that I talked about early on, also in Coaching the Bible that I saw in a book. If I weren't afraid, what would I do? It's not to be just the action, it's the truth. What truth am I avoiding? What truth will I face? What truth will I see if I'm not afraid to open up that barrel, to step into that void? And then if you want to do a little journaling exercise, just to write it down on a regular basis, I think that's a great idea. For a period of time, I did journaling on an app. I thought that was very helpful. It was more a gratitude thing, but it also surfaced a lot of things that I had been thinking about, that in a safe space on a phone, in an app, at least I think it's a safe space on a phone in an app, I can share those things about myself without being censored and being true and honest to those feelings. Maybe you want to go a little bit further. You want to share with somebody else. And so you can say to somebody, I have this issue that I'm dealing with. I'm desperately avoiding it, but it's there and I know part of it and I need to explore the unknown part of it. And I'm pretending not to know any of it. And can you help me do that? That's a very raw kind of thing. That's a very good leader. We have leaders who are willing to explore the things that they know that they have to explore and to this point haven't, but start now. Those are the leaders. These are really power questions. This makes you great at what you're doing and even better than you already are. And so again, question number 1, what's it like to be led by me? Question number 2, am I focusing on what only I can do? Question 3, where might I be wrong? And number 4, what am I pretending not to know? In exploring any of them, even just one, don't treat it like you checked the box. This is inner work. This is what makes the leader within a greater leader, and therefore the visible leader that everybody sees is so much better. So this is the inner work. This is working on the inputs to get the greater outputs. This is what it means to be the leader within, to lead not just others, but also to lead the self, to lead oneself into the greatest version of themselves into the future. End with a quote, as we always like to, we try to do. This is a quote from a gentleman by the name of Bob Richards. Bob Richards was an Olympic gold medalist in the pole vault and as a decathlete. And this was his quote. The quality of a person's life is in direct proportion to their commitment to excellence, regardless of their chosen field of endeavor. Excellence begins with the questions you're brave enough to ask. That is Coaching the Bible for this week. Again, all those celebrating holidays, happy holidays to all of you. Those who are about to celebrate the holiday of Passover, Pesach, just as I'm about to start, wish you a happy and a joyous and a wonderful, wonderful holiday ahead.